WNBA teams got called out for not necessarily guarding her like she's killing the league right now. I mean, she's lighting it up, and people were calling
on TV and playing against her, and I'm like, yeah, she's cold. Like anytime anybody say something about Caitlin Clark, she really that good. Be like, bro.
Yeah. Ego, not be jealous, not be butthurt, and act threatened at the greatness of Caitlin Clark. Unlike like a hawk, I don't know what it's gotten into. Shout out to Venom, man. Robin Lundberg from here. But we got to get to what Courtney Williams had to say about Caitlin Clark, because this thing is making.
Like, with my own eyes, like, I ain't gonna lie, Caitlin Clark raw as well, too. But
Russia comes out and says point blank that Griner is not a priority, and to add insult to injury, they hadn't even acknowledged the bout trade offer at the point this video was filmed. That's a brutal negotiating posture, and honestly, it tracks with how Moscow handled high-profile detainee cases throughout 2022. Using them as leverage means you don't blink first, you let the other side sweat. We now know how this actually ended. The swap did eventually happen. Griner came home in December 2022 for Victor Bout. But in the moment this aired, Russia was playing this exactly like you'd expect, a state that wanted maximum leverage to play it. Cold, dismissive, no rush.
The Sophie Cunningham finger. She's getting the Paige Beckers treatment. They're not guarding her super hard, super physical, full court, blitzing, doubling, trapping like they do with Caitlin Clark. What the hell is going on? Natalie Nakase caught wind of it, and Natalie Nakase gave her 25% of the Caitlin Clark treatment. And
the Russian statement goes out of its way to frame this as a drug case. Quote, "We have no business being drug addicts over here." That's a deliberately loaded way to talk about a detained American athlete, and it's not subtle. This is standard state media framing you saw a lot of during that period. Reduce the person to the offense, strip away the context of medical cannabis use that's legal in plenty of US states, and make it about American moral failing instead of Griner as an individual. It's propaganda 101, and it worked as a talking point far beyond Russian state TV. You saw versions of this argument all over social media that year.
Is the rawest rookie I've ever seen in my life, and I'm not even joking. But
okay, she's talking about Olivia Miles, the rawest rookie. This is before Caitlin Clark came up.
You know me, I wouldn't even just be saying just anything, bro. Like with my own eyes.
Not a main concern, that's the actual Russian aid headline the host is reading off, right before Putin himself says on record that her release is not imminent. When the head of state is the one saying it, that's not just posturing for domestic audiences, that's a real signal to Washington that Moscow isn't feeling pressure to move quickly. Griner ended up spending roughly 10 months in custody total before the swap went through, so this not imminent line aged accurately. It really did drag on for months more after this video was recorded.
See? Look. First, she was talking about her teammate. She's like, yo, Olivia Miles, Cole. You got to think she's seeing Olivia Miles every day practice, live in games, doing whatever she wants, talking trash. But then it popped in her mind. Wait a minute. I can't get beside myself. Caitlin Clark is like that. Now, I don't see her every game.
The host closes out with a jab, hoping Griner acknowledges and respects the national anthem a little better once she's home. That's clearly needling her 2020 anthem stance, tacked onto a story about her actually being detained overseas. Whatever you think about her past protests, using someone's ongoing imprisonment as the setup for a political dig is a choice, and it's worth noting, when she did eventually come home, she gave interviews about how meaningfully her feelings about the anthem had shifted, so this prediction wasn't wrong, even if the framing here is pretty pointed.
She doing this like consistently. Yeah. Consistently, bro. I'm like, these folks ain't got no answer.
So that was Courtney Williams initially speaking about Olivia Miles, but then Caitlin Clark came up because she's like, wait a minute.
The host leans hard into calling this a political ploy for Democrats, tying Biden's public statements about Griner directly to the midterm elections. That's a real read some commentators had at the time, and Yuri Ushakov's quote about Biden being focused on midterms first is doing a lot of work here. But it's worth remembering that's a Kremlin advisor's characterization of Biden's motives, not something confirmed independently. Governments routinely accuse each other of playing domestic politics with hostage negotiations. That doesn't make the accusation automatically true, it makes it useful rhetoric for whichever side says it.
Able to not have such an ego, not be jealous, not be butthurt, and act threatened at the greatness of Caitlin Clark. Unlike a bunch of these other WNBA vets who have been pure haters, not since day one, since before Caitlin Clark even got into the league. Lexi Brown, Cheryl Swoops, veteran, all these people was.
Biden saying he'd be willing to discuss Griner's case with Putin at the G20 in Indonesia gets dismissed here as so political, virtue signaling. But multilateral summits are genuinely one of the few venues where leaders from countries with minimal formal diplomatic contact actually get face time. That's not spin, that's just how those meetings function. Whether Biden's public framing of it was partly about optics is a fair question, but the G20 sideline meeting itself was a real, standard diplomatic tool, not an invented photo op.
Venom is watching everybody like a hawk. I don't know what it's gotten into. Shout out to Venom, man. Robin Lundberg. I seen what you doing lately, Robin. It seemed like you kind of starting to smell the coffee. It seemed like you kind of starting to smell the coffee. You trying to cross over in these.
Right out of the gate, disastrous news, straight from a Putin aide. That's a strong opener, and it's grounded in something real. Russian officials really were the ones putting out these dismissive statements. The cut to Bill Richardson's optimism about her being out by year's end, and the host's on-fire joke undercutting it, sets the tone for the whole video. Hope versus the cold reality of Russian state messaging. Richardson, for what it's worth, had a long track record of hostage diplomacy work by this point, so his optimism wasn't baseless, it just turned out to be a little early.
Got going, the whole team got going, Kelsey Mitchell got going in that third quarter. And that's where, like, give Caitlin Clark the keys! Just give her the keys! It ain't hard! Give her the keys and take credit, or take a hike. One of the two.
Oh! Robin Lundberg is officially crossed over.
Serious to Russia, but not serious enough to make her a priority. That line right after the "not even on the radar" callback is probably the most quietly damning moment in the whole video, because it's the host's own synthesis rather than a lifted quote, and it's actually a fair read of everything that came before it. Russia clearly wanted this story to matter enough to use as leverage, but not enough to resolve quickly. That's a pretty accurate description of how protracted hostage diplomacy usually works, and it's exactly what played out over the following months.
Courtney Williams, one half of the Stud Buds, she was on her, I believe, her Twitch stream with Natisha Heidemann, former Minnesota Link, who is now with the Seattle Storm. And they were talking about Olivia Miles, and Caitlin Clark came up. Now,
The Kremlin quote lands hard. Griner's case is not the main issue we are concerned about. Immediately after, the video cuts to Karen Jean-Pierre, saying the administration will work tirelessly every day to bring her home. Putting those two quotes back to back is genuinely sharp editing. One side downplaying urgency, the other insisting on it, and it captures the actual diplomatic stalemate of late 2022 pretty accurately, before the swap finally broke through in December.
the Sophie Cunningham finger. She's getting the Paige Beckers treatment. They're not guarding her super hard, super physical, full court, blitzing, doubling, trapping like they do with Caitlin Clark. What the hell is going on? Natalie Nakase caught wind of it, and Natalie Nakase gave her 25% of the Caitlin Clark treatment. And
the prison conditions detail 2 showers a week is a small concrete fact that does more work than any of the political back and forth because it makes the stakes real instead of abstract. Detention facility conditions in Russia have been documented as harsh for a long time, well before this case, so this tracks with broader reporting on the Russian penal system generally, not just something invented for this story. It's the kind of detail that reframes the whole video from political football back to actual human being in a difficult situation, even in a video that spends most of its runtime on the politics.
Is the rawest rookie I've ever seen in my life, and I'm not even joking. Like,
okay, she's talking about Olivia Miles, the rawest rookie. This is before Caitlin Clark came up.
You know me. I wouldn't even just be saying just anything, bro. Like with my own eyes.
The mention of Cheryl Griner meeting with National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan, plus the reminder that Griner is a two-time Olympic gold medalist playing for the Phoenix Mercury, is doing important context work, reminding viewers there's an actual family and an actual career on hold here, not just a diplomatic abstraction. That kind of high-level White House meeting with a detainee's spouse is a real marker of how seriously the administration was treating the case internally, regardless of how the public messaging around it gets read politically.
See, look. First she was talking about her teammate. She's like, yo, Olivia Miles, Cole. You got to think she's seeing Olivia Miles every day, practice, live in games, doing whatever she wants, talking trash. But then it popped in her mind, wait a minute. I can't get beside myself. Caitlin Clark is like that. Now, I don't see her every game.
Nothing has come out of it, repeated twice for emphasis, describing prisoner swap talks that, at the point of filming, had stalled completely. That's an accurate snapshot of where things stood for most of 2022. The swap that eventually freed Griner didn't happen until early December, months of talks that genuinely went nowhere before they suddenly did. The historically poor relations with Russia line from USA Today is doing real work here too. That's not exaggeration. That's just an accurate description of the diplomatic backdrop the whole negotiation was happening against.
She doing this like consistently.
Yeah.
Consistently, bro. I'm like, these folks ain't got no answer.
So that was Courtney Williams initially speaking about Olivia Miles, but then Caitlin Clark came up because she's like, wait a minute.